Hey guys, it's Eric, owner of Farpoint Farms here in the mountains, North Carolina, and today I've got this thing to check out. This is an Ancel Auto Scanner AD530. This is a scanner, not a scan tool. This is going to do live readings. This is going to check engine lights and reset engine lights, but it probably doesn't read all of the systems on a modern car, and it certainly doesn't do a ton of bi-directional stuff. But for like a home user or for a technician who just needs to go out and check readiness codes or wants to maybe check out live data while he's driving, a tool like this is awesome. I always have something like this. In fact, this is an upgrade for me. I've had a 2008 Craftsman, which was the equivalent of an Innova scan tool, for many years that did just the functions that this does, but probably this does a whole lot more. And then, of course, if you're a master tech or you're doing this for a living, you probably want to have a secondary scan tool as well, something that does offer bi-directional controls. But for today, let's take a look and see what the average homeowner or shade tree mechanic or just the person who wants to know more about their car could get out of a tool like this. And this is pretty fancy, full color display. And we're going to hook it up. Actually, I have I've created a check engine light. I have created a misfire, and I want to see how this thing does with it. So let's check it out. Let's go ahead and open this thing up, and we'll bring it outside here and check out a car with it. We'll actually plug it into maybe 2 or 3 cars. So got a nice manual here. So I won't read through that with y'all here, but it does have a pretty decent looking manual from the looks of it. You know, a lot of colors and good information there. That's always nice. All right, so I am going to go ahead and update it. Probably not necessary to do it, but it does give pretty interesting directions. So you plug this thing into your computer, and it looks like if you look in your file explorer, you'll see an installer, and that'll install the software needed to go out on the internet and do the update. So I'll go ahead and do that right now, and we'll see what we got. All right, so I've gone through and updated this, and when you plug it in, key on, engine off, here is the screen we have, and there are some things in setup I want to show you here real quick before we move on to the actual diagnostic functions of this. Going into setup, we have our language, unit of measure, English and metric. You can turn the beep on or off. It does have a record function, which is really nice, so if I want to take a test drive, if I'm trying to catch a car that has an intermittent problem, having a record function so you can go back and review that data stream after the fact is a really nice feature and something you don't normally find on a scan tool, just a regular scanner like this. Background, it does have this feature, which I found useful right away. We have a night and day feature, so I'm going to put it on day feature or daytime right now so y'all can see it better, hopefully. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that. But let's go back in here. We do have some other stuff, and we'll go through it. But first, let's take a look at our just generic OBD2 testing here. So I'm going to hit enter, and it's searching. So it's already found the system that it likes. So there are several, generic systems. We have European, Asian, and American systems. It's gone in and found that automatically. And I hope y'all can see this because it is kind of small writing. But mill status is listed as on. That means our check engine light's on. This one does have a diagnostic code in the engine. It goes through some readiness stuff as well. And we're going to go ahead and read the code. So let's see what's going on. We should have a misfire here. And there we go. Cylinder 6 misfire, P3006. The I stands for information. So I can press this button down here that stands for info, and it'll go out and tell us the most likely cause on this. So it's kind of like having Identifix or the internet at your fingertips. You don't have to leave the vehicle. It's going to save you a lot of time and trouble on the diagnostic process. On this one, faulty spark plug number 6, maybe a clogged fuel injector, faulty ignition coil, fuel injector harness. So there's our most likely causes, always starting with your number one issue here, just a bad spark plug. In my case, I unplugged the spark plug wire, so there's our issue. But that's really cool that it does give you that. And so this is stuff that a decade ago would have been thousands of dollars, and even 5 years ago would require a tool that cost $5,000 to access. And now here we are with a sub $100 tool that can do this fairly well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and escape out of that, back out. Now I can go into a raise codes. I can check out my readiness. Is this thing going to pass? Is this going to pass my state inspection here? So it's going monitors incomplete. So my cat monitor wouldn't pass. So really neat that it has that kind of information involved in there. And then we have our live data stream, and oh, that's really nice. So we can view everything, and there's a lot of PIDs here. Lots of stuff here, right? We don't want to look at all that. But I'll tell you what, I'll start the car. All right, right away, I'm sort of impressed with the speed that this updates, considering I have all the PIDs activated. O2 sensor functions, throttle position. Wow, the response time is really good. I'm liking that. Much faster than my Genesis. All right, let's escape out of that. Let me show you. I'm going to just select a few items here. Let's go with engine coolant temperature. You can see the little check mark appears. We'll go with RPM. Throttle position, and O2 sensor, voltage, front and rear, okay? So now we're just seeing our selected data stream. Coolant temperature, RPM, throttle position. Right? All right, let's escape again, and now let's look at it as a graph. And we're gonna choose, again, coolant temp, RPM, throttle position. There we go. So it's giving us 3. It's giving them colors, so you can see the 3 different ones. I'm gonna rev it up, and my RPM shoots up. Drop it back down. I am really impressed with the speed that this thing is updating. This is the kind of speed you get out of a modern scan tool that you pay many thousands of dollars for, so this is kind of impressive here. Let me escape back out of this. I'm actually just going to pick one item to make it a little easier to see what I'm talking about here, and we're going to go with O2 sensor, because that's what a lot of times people will be looking at voltage, right? And here we go. So here's our O2 sensor voltage. You can see it's cycling, hopefully. it's a little hard to see probably on camera, but that's exactly what you want to see. So if I had an O2 sensor code and I wanted to diagnose whether I had a vacuum leak or a fuel trim leak or whatever, I want to see if that O2 sensor cycling, and it's doing exactly that. It's showing my minimum and my maximum. It's showing its live cycling, which sometimes can happen so quickly that it's hard to tell that the O2 sensor is working right. But if you can look at a graph like this and get that accurate data, it's just amazing. So really impressed with this so far, guys. All right, I'm going to go ahead and erase the code. All right, then the information is saying it's cleared. Now, if I looked at my readiness, they should be all incomplete. Yep. So it's telling me I'm going to have to go on one heck of a test drive to fix that. Usually I let a customer do that. We could go back into that, but we also have freeze frame. I didn't look at the freeze frame, but when you set a check engine light, and if it's a problem that was intermittent, so when the car comes to you, or you know, it happens while you're driving, but not while you're sitting in the driveway, freeze frame is a good way of checking out the live data and saying, hey, what was going on when this happened? So right now, if I look at it, it's not going to have any freeze frame data in it. And then we have an O2 sensor test, onboard monitoring, which is going to give us, like, you know, is our EVAP if the vehicle's equipped, and that kind of stuff. Tester component, I'm not sure, not sported on this vehicle. This is a 95, so it's amazing that this thing is even doing a lot, because this is a like OBD 1 3/4. It's not even a full OBD 2. It has both the genuine Toyota plug and the newer plug there. So yeah, some of these are not supported on this vehicle. So we'll get out of that. We're going to say yes. All right, another feature it has is a battery test or charging system test. So you go over there and highlight that. We'll hit enter. It's saying to have your ignition off. It's going to give you your current voltage reading. And we'll hit enter for start detection. It wants us to turn the ignition on. And there we go. So it's showing us our voltage, key off and key on. And then if you want to, we can also take a look and see what our charging voltage is really easily. So I can go ahead and start this. You got a current draw test. If you looked at that real quick, yes, it did not drop below 10 volts. And now it's sitting here charging at 14.2 roughly. So that's a healthy charging system. So that's a really cool test that usually you have to get out and check at the battery level, you know, under the engine compartment. But again, I can do this right here in the car, and I find that to be pretty darn neat. So, and let's move on to the one last thing. Okay, so let's take a look at one last thing here before we go on, and that is this DTC lookup. This is kind of a neat function. I'm not sure how well it's going to work on this 95 model, but we have a P series code. So, you know, anytime you have a code, it's going to be a P code if it's a generic code. And although I've already cleared it out, let's go back and see what a P0301 would be and see if this thing knows in the database what that would come up as. Cylinder 1 misfire detected. And again, it's giving us the info button. So if I hit that info button down there, and it's telling us our spark plug issues are full. Now, I don't know how many this will have, but PO, let's see a 420 if we can come up with that. Catalytic efficiency code, right? So a couple of these I'm just pulling out of memory here for what goes bad on these. I can't remember what the ECT code, maybe a 123, I think it was. So, but all right, so cat efficiency, if I hit ID, three-way cat clogged, exhaust leaks, intake air leaks, fuel injector issues. So pretty neat features, pretty neat functions for a tool like this that this is far exceeding what I expected a tool like this to do. And maybe it shows my age, maybe it shows how long it's been since I bought a new scan tool, but for the fact that this tool is able to do pretty much everything but bi-directional control and do it at such great speed, the speed at which the live data refreshes is just incredible to me. So I'm really happy with this. This is the Ancel AD530, and it's going to be a great addition to the restoration part of this business. So I'm going to be using this on vehicles here. So on a day that you don't need to bring out the big guns, the big, you know, pro level scan tools, you can use something like this. And a lot of times if you're going to look at a car to purchase, you can see if somebody's cleared the check engine light by checking the readiness before you buy it to see if they're trying to hide something. So there's a lot of reasons to get something like this, but overall I'm very pleased with it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, perhaps you'll think about liking and subscribing. And I'll see you next time. Take care.
There's always something that needs a little fixing on Farpoint Farms. Freedom is mighty sweet.